Welcome to Morning Joan, your daily dose of entertainment news and gossip. I'm your host, Joan, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Well, it's finally here, folks. The West End premiere of Samuel D. Hunter's play Clarkston is coming to London this fall, and we have all the juicy details. Starring in the production is none other than Emmy-nominated heartthrob Joe Locke, who you may know from Netflix's hit series Heartstopper. Locke will be playing the role of Jake, a man on a journey of self-discovery who meets a kindred spirit named Chris, played by Ruwarid Malika, while working the night shift at a Costco in rural America. Yes, you heard that right, a Costco in rural America. It's going to be a wild ride. The play, which explores themes of love, friendship, and the unknown future, is being directed by the acclaimed Jack Serio, who has previously helmed productions like Uncle Vanya. And let me tell you, with this talented cast and crew, we can expect great things from Clarkston. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about Joe Locke's other projects? Well, the actor has been keeping busy, recently starring in Disney Marvel's Agatha, all alongside Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza. And with his breakthrough performance in Heartstopper, he's become a household name among fans of the show. The production of Clarkston is being presented by Oliver Roth and LD Entertainment, who have previously produced West End hits like Sunset BLVD and The Inherit. So we can expect a high-quality production with all the bells and whistles. If you're as excited as I am about Clarkston, you'll want to mark your calendars for this fall when the play premieres in London's West End. And don't worry, we'll be keeping a close eye on the production and bringing you all the latest updates and behind-the-scenes gossip. We'll be right back with more tea on Morning Joan. Welcome back to Morning Joan, darlings. I hope you're all caffeinated and ready to dive into the latest news from the world of finance. Today we're talking taxes, and I know what you're thinking. Joan, taxes are so boring. But bear with me, folks, because this is actually quite fascinating. So it seems that the new tax bill, dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill, has some interesting deductions tucked away in its 940 pages. And I'm not just talking about the usual suspects like charitable donations or mortgage interest. No, my friends. This bill has got some real gems. Let's start with the exemption for overtime pay. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joan, this is great news for all those hardworking folks in Hollywood who put in 12-hour days on set. And you're right, it is. But let me break it down for you. This exemption only applies to employees who receive overtime pay required by federal law, and the employer has to report it on the annual form, W-2. And there's a cap, of course, $12,500 per year for single filers and $25,000 for joint returns. But here's the thing, this exemption is only available for 2025-2028, so you've got to act fast if you want to take advantage of it. And let's not forget that it's phased out for taxpayers with income over $150,000 for single filers and $300,000 for joint returns. So, if you're a high earner, you might not be eligible. Now let's talk about the new car loan tax deduction. Because who doesn't love a good tax break on their luxury vehicle, am I right? This deduction applies to interest on loans taken out on qualified passenger vehicles used for personal travel, and it only applies to vehicles purchased in 2025, 2028. And get this, the vehicles have to be assembled in the United States. But here's the catch, the deduction is capped at $10,000 in interest each year, and it decreases by $200 for every $1,000 over the income threshold of $100,000 for single filers or $200,000. So if you're a high earner with a fancy car, you might not get the full deduction. And let's not forget that this deduction is temporary, folks. It expires at the end of 2028, so you've got to act fast if you want to take advantage of it. And as economist Jonathan Smoke pointed out, most taxpayers won't reach the highest amount of the deduction benefit, since only the most expensive cars have annual interest charges of $10,000. So there you have it, folks, a tax bill that's full of surprises. Some good, some not so good. But hey, at least we've got something to talk about, right? Stay tuned for today's last cup of tea, right here on Morning Joan. Welcome back to Morning Joan, darling. It's time for our closing segment, and I've a delightful treat for you all. Today, we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart: puzzles. Specifically, the New York Times mini crossword. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joan, why are you talking about crosswords on a fashion and entertainment podcast? Well, let me tell you, my lovelies. Puzzles are not just for brainiacs. They're for anyone who loves a good challenge and wants to keep their mind sharp. And trust me, after a long day of dealing with the chaos of the fashion world, there's nothing quite like unwinding with a good crossword. So let's dive into today's mini crossword clues and answers. I have to say, I found this one to be quite tricky at first, but once I got going, it was a breeze. The first letter for each word is M for 5 across, B for 6 across, O for 7 across, M for 8 across, and so on. Now, I'm not going to give away all the answers, but I will say that one across was a bit of a brain twister. It was so obvious that it wasn't obvious, if you know what I mean. But once I plugged in mini, everything else started to fall into place. And speaking of falling into place, have you ever noticed how some words just seem to fit together like a perfectly tailored outfit? That's what happened when I filled in Minty for 7 across. It was like the puzzle gods were smiling down on me. Of course, not every answer came easily. I had to do a bit of guessing and checking, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it? The thrill of the chase, the satisfaction of figuring out a tough clue. It's like finding the perfect pair of shoes to go with your outfit. So, how did you all do on today's mini crossword? Did you find it as challenging as I did? Or was it a breeze for you brainiacs out there? Let me know on social media using the hashtag #MorningJoan. And that's all for today's Morning Joan. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay fabulous. Welcome to Morning Joan, your daily dose of good news and intriguing stories. I'm your host, Joan, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. As we dive into the world of fascinating facts and historical tidbits, let's start with a bang, literally. On this day, July 11th, Big Ben, the iconic bell in the world's largest chiming clock tower, first rang out over London from its new perch as part of Westminster Palace. Can you believe it took 30 hours to winch that massive bell into place? The origin of the name Big Ben is still debated, but one theory suggests it was named after Sir Benjamin Hall, the first Commissioner of Works and Public Buildings. But that's not all, folks. On this day in history, we also celebrate the birth of the renowned author E.B. White, who penned beloved children's classics like Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little. This literary legend was a staff writer at the New Yorker magazine for nearly 6 decades, and even co-authored the iconic style guidebook, Strunk and White's The Elements of Style. And if you're a fan of music, you'll love this. 55 years ago today, David Bowie released his groundbreaking single Space Oddity. This haunting song about astronaut Major Tom became Bowie's first #1 hit in the UK and remains a fan favorite to this day. We've also got some fun fashion news. Did you know that Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead designed a line of ties that went on sale in America 33 years ago? Yes, you can still buy those iconic ties online. And who would have thought that President Bill Clinton was a fan? Last but not least, let's talk about cars. On this day in 1893, Fabbrica Italiano Automobili di Torino, or Fiat, was founded in Italy. Who knew that this humble beginnings would lead to the creation of adorable cars like the Fiat 500, which has become a staple on roads around the world? That's all for now, folks. It's been a wild ride through history, and we're just getting started. We'll be right back with more tea on Morning Joan. Welcome back to Morning Joan. I hope you're all refreshed and ready to dive into our next segment. We've got some exciting news from the world of entertainment, and I'm thrilled to share it with you. You know how much we love talking about film festivals here on the show, and today we've got a real treat for you. The Holly Shorts Film Festival is just around the corner, and let me tell you, they're pulling out all the stops for their 21st edition. This year's lineup is packed with A-list talent, including global music icon Stormzy, the late Michael Madsen, Viola Davis, Stephen Fry, Idris Elba, and Letitia Wright, to name just a few. The festival will take place from August 7th to 17th at the TCL Chinese Theaters in Los Angeles, and it will also be streaming globally via. With over 7,000 submissions from around the world, the competition is fierce, but we can't wait to see which films come out on top. From documentaries addressing pressing social issues like gun violence and school shootings, to live-action films featuring ensemble casts and high-profile executive producers, there's something for everyone at this year's Hollysorts Film Festival. And as an Oscar-qualifying event, the stakes are higher than ever. We'll be keeping a close eye on the festival and bringing you all the latest updates, so be sure to stay tuned for more news and interviews with the talented folks involved. And who knows, maybe we'll even have some of the winners joining us on the show after the festival wraps up. That's all for now, but don't go anywhere just yet. We've still got one more segment to go, and it's going to be a great one. Stay tuned for today's last cup of tea, right here on Morning Joan. Welcome back to Morning Joan, darlings. We've got some exciting news to dish out in our final segment today. Can you believe it? Michael Mann, the genius behind Heat, the Last of the Mohicans and Collateral, is set to receive the prestigious Lumiere Award at the 17th edition of Thierry Frémaux Lumiere. I mean, what an honor. The man has delivered some of the most iconic films in cinematic history, and his body of work is truly awe-inspiring. Now, let's talk about the Lumiere Award itself. It's not just any award, sweethearts. It's given to a filmmaker who has made significant contributions to the world of cinema, and previous recipients include legends like Clint Eastwood, Martin Scorsese, and Jane Fonda. So Michael Mann is in good company, to say the least. What I find fascinating, darlings, is that Mann will also be directing a short reimagining of La Sortie des Usines Lumière, which was filmed by Louis and Auguste Lumière back in 1895. Can you imagine? The man is a true artist, always pushing boundaries and exploring new ways to tell stories. And speaking of storytelling, have you heard about the other big news in the world of cinema? The Lumiere Festival will also be honoring Michael Mann's entire body of work, including his cult classics like The Insider and Collateral. I mean, who doesn't love a good crime drama, am I right? Now let's switch gears for a second. We also have some news about the Champs-Élysées Film Festival, where Michael Mann's film Ferrari, starring Adam Driver and Penelope Cruz, made its debut last year. But that's not all. We also heard that the festival will be showcasing some of Mann's earlier work, including The Last of the Mohicans. So if you're a fan of historical dramas, you won't want to miss this. And finally, darlings, let's talk about what's next for Michael Mann. The man is currently working on a sequel to his 1995 crime drama Heat titled Heat 2. I mean, can you even imagine? Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are set to reprise their roles, and I'm sure it's going to be absolute perfection. That's all for today's Morning Joan. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay fabulous.